situation, right? Last week I spoke about driving in Italy. Today I'd like to talk about driving in Spain and Scandinavia. In Spain they have these funny little signs, actually they're lights. Now if you're driving in Madrid, which is a major metropolitan area, it's chaos. It's worse, 10 times worse than driving in Tijuana. And I don't like driving in Tijuana anymore. But they have these little lights that are right underneath the big lights. So when you pull up to the light and want to make a right, you have to watch these two little lights below. Because what those lights are for are the people walking back and forth across the street, the pedestrians. So you have a green light and a red light. You can't make a right turn until that green light comes on. Now imagine the first time you're driving in Madrid, you got your blinker on, you're getting ready to turn, and the guy sitting next to you goes, "Don't turn!" And I go, "Why not?" He says, "You got a red light." I said, "No, I got a green light." He said, "No, you got a red light." Then I looked down the pole, and there it was, and it finally turned green, and I made my right turn. Now you got to understand, the guy sitting next to me is 6 feet 7 inches tall, and it's Gita's son-in-law. Juan Luis immediately asked me to pull over as soon as we could find a place. He says, "Just pull over anyway," because they like to double park in Madrid. So we pulled over, got out, we switched. He got to drive. There's also a funny little quirk that they have in Madrid about if you want to make a left-hand turn, and the sign says you can't make a left-hand turn, you have to go on the right-hand side. They got this little thing that you turn, make a little U-turn, and you have to wait. It's usually at a one-way street, but you turn, you come around, and you stop. And as soon as the light turns green, you make sure that the pedestrian sign's okay, then you can scoot on across the street. Other than that, they all drive on the same side of the street that we drive on. They also drive 90 miles an hour. And this is downtown Madrid. And again, red lights, stop signs are suggestions. Pedestrians in Europe don't have the right of way. And even when they do and they get run over, it's too bad. It happens. I've seen it happen. Now in Scandinavia, they have zero tolerance. So when you're driving in Scandinavia, whether it's in Denmark, whether you're in Sweden, whether you're in Norway, it's zero tolerance. And I mean, if they smell alcohol on your breath, you're going to jail. To give you an example, Gita's cousin, Jan, he was living in Aarhus, belonged to a hunting club. Now their idea of hunting is meeting once a week at the club, eating and drinking and hunting beer, schnapps, whatever it is. That's their idea. Jan drove home one day, snockered, but he didn't go to his apartment. See, in Denmark, you have these little things called havehaus. What there is a garden house. And you have a little plot of land, you have a little house there, and during the summer you're allowed to stay there surreptitiously. They don't really care for you to be there, but they do. A lot of them turn little sheds into houses. So you have this nice little 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom house. Anyway, he pulls up, goes in, passes out. Well, somebody turned him in, called cops and said, "Hey, this guy's been drinking all day, you better go get him." Well, they made the mistake of going to his apartment where he wasn't, because during the summer he's over at the garden house. It took them 3 hours, the police, 3 hours to finally figure out where he was at. They got to his house, or to his summer house, garden house. Well, by then he sobered up, sitting there having dinner, having a couple beers. They still took him to jail. Now, about $3,000 later, he got off. Because from the time that was reported and the time that they arrested him was too long, even in Danish law. But figure out $3,000 in Denmark in 1992 was about half of his income. Now, the reason I say this about Jan driving is that was part of his job. See, he's a licensed architect that works for an insurance company. And part of his job is when there's a fire or there's a structural damage to somebody's home that the insurer is carrying, he has to go out, bid the job, and if the people want the insurance company to fix the house, he also becomes the super, the contractor. He drives about 40,000 miles a year, all over Denmark. So obviously if he doesn't have a car and he's in jail, and they pull your license for 2 years. Okay, he'd been out of a job. The second instance, when we were in Oslo, it was actually, we'd been there over a week and a half, returning my car downtown, pulled up the stop sign, I'm looking to the right, and they got this lady bent over a car, and they're handcuffing her. And they got their boyfriend up against the car like this. Now, this is about 9:30 in the morning. Ooh, wow, what's going on? Well, Gunnar, who we were staying with, he follows me to Hertz, we drop the car off, get in the car, we're coming back. By this time, they got the boyfriend over the car, and they're handcuffing him. I said, Gunnar, what's going on? He says, well, they're Swedes. I go, how do you know they're Swedes? He said, well, look at their license plate. Evidently, they'd been to a buffet or something in the morning, probably had a drink or two. They're going to jail. They not only go to jail, they impound the car. It's going to run about $3,000 or $4,000 American to get out of jail, get their license. See, Norwegians don't like Swedes, at least in Oslo. So I asked Gunnar, I said, so what you're trying to tell me is the whole time we've been here, you don't drink and drive. He says, absolutely not. When I picked you up and we went to lunch that day, you didn't see me drinking. No. Went to my mother's, we had a big lunch out there, never had a drink. He says, it's not worth it. It's not worth drinking and driving in Scandinavia because we have zero tolerance. So when you're over there, when you're driving, you want to have a drink, don't. Serious, because if somebody sees you, they'll turn you in. And I don't think it's worth $3,000 or $4,000 spending a couple nights or weeks or months in jail. And if you should happen to hurt somebody or kill somebody over there, it's a long time in jail. They do not believe in drinking and driving, at least in Scandinavia. Italy, it's a different story. So with that, I'd like to turn it back over to our president.